ready one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with a Sunday Reads. Why a Sunday Reads? Because I was too sick to do a Friday Reads. Sick? Again? Yes, my bacterial infection came back. Is that too much information? I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk too much about anything about my illness, just that the first go-around of antibiotics didn't do the trick. My new doctor's office was closed for several days, so I couldn't immediately get back in to see him, and I thought maybe everything was okay, but it wasn't. And by the time I got back to see my doctor last Thursday, I was pretty sick again, and I have spent the weekend drugged up on the same antibiotics. He agrees with me that it's just a particularly severe infection, and I think he's going to support me by keeping me on the antibiotics until it's gone. Anyway, I'm feeling well enough. You be the judge of that. I'm feeling well enough to make a Sunday Reads video because I'm feeling so disconnected, and I have been reading. My mind never kind of lost its clarity. Now, don't anybody make a joke that it never existed in the first place, but I have done quite a bit of reading, and it hasn't been very happy. This isn't going to be a particularly uplifting Sunday Reads, except for the part that I'm still alive, all right? And I'm really pumped to start Victober, and I expect I'm going to feel that much better tomorrow. Today I'm feeling kind of woo-woo, but like I say, it's not, it doesn't affect my reading or ability to express myself. Again, you can be the judge of that, but, I'm not at my best. So here goes nothing. Oh, and two more things, just to give you a bit of a chuckle. I mean, imagine me going to the doctor, and this didn't happen, but every time I think of it, it makes me laugh. Imagine me going to the doctor and saying, Doctor, there must be something really wrong with me. I don't want to drink alcohol, because I haven't had a drop of alcohol since I got sick at the beginning of the month. Other than that, I did try a glass of wine, and I didn't like it. So, that's one terrible symptom. And the other thing is, I've lost a ton of weight. I've lost 7 kilos. So last week I was literally walking around. I worked last week. I haven't missed any more work. I can't afford to miss any more work because there's no such thing as sick pay in Japan. So I will drag myself to work this week, and I think I'll feel well enough too. But just picture me last week working and holding my pants up by gripping my belt as I was walking, or keeping my fist jammed in my pockets so my pants wouldn't fall down. I've since found my old belt that got too small that now works, and I look like a movie star, hey? So, imagine me going to the doctor and complaining, I'm not fat anymore. I don't like alcohol. There's something wrong. So, there have been negative things that I don't need to describe to you, but those are the upbeat things. All right, enough upbeat for one video. Let me tell you about my reading week. I've had, I finished one book, and I don't think I've started any, have I? Other than one of the Bales. In fact, maybe both of these I started this week. I can't remember. It's a little bit of a blur. But this is not nearly as going to be as muddled of a video as any of my wine-infused ones. So let's put everything in perspective, shall we? This ended up being a Bale for me quite early. Guy Gunaratne's In Our Mad and Furious City, and I'll tell you a funny story about it, but I only read 40 pages, and I just didn't like the writing well enough to continue. The story seemed interesting, but the writing was just left me cold. So enough said about that. But I I had suggested to Karen of Run Right Reads that we buddy read it because I had time because of all the bales from last week. And she said, yeah, let me track down a copy. I'll buy a copy. And meanwhile, I was reading and thinking, I thought, oh my God, she's going to buy a copy and I will have bailed before she even starts. So I sent her an emergency Voxer message early this week and said, did you buy it? Did you buy it? Please don't buy it. And if you haven't bought it, let me send you my copy. So she hadn't bought it. She's happy to wait 2 months to get it. I'll pop it in the mail to her this week. So, crisis averted. For Adam's book to film club, I picked up, in fact, I picked it up last weekend, I think, The Woman in the Dunes by Kobo Abe. I gave it 90 pages, and I must say that I didn't think I would find that many pages that were so deeply about sand to be as fascinating as they were. It really was an incredible description of sand, and I loved the atmospherics of not being able to eat without getting sand in your mouth, and waking up, and you're covered in sand, and blah, blah, blah. He just does a masterful job, and the English translation is by E. Dale Saunders. It just really conveys an atmosphere that I found fascinating. But I need more than an atmosphere, and what little else there was here than atmosphere was an existential novel. I hate existential fiction. I will not read it. I could not finish. So I read 90 pages, and then I listened to Doris's Friday Reads, because I had listened to Doris's Friday Reads yesterday, and I'd skipped ahead. I didn't want to hear what she had to say about this book, but by the time I got to page 90, that, yeah, I think I need, and I listened to her, and said, yeah, no, it's not going to be for me, and then I watched Adam's video, which is wonderful, but yeah, now I don't have to finish it. It's not a Sean book. I started this, I think, the 1st of September, and I finished it today, the last day of September. The Priory by Dorothy Whipple. This was a buddy read with Ange of Beyond the Pages, and I didn't... Well, I don't even know what verb to say. I didn't like it very much. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was a 3-star read for me, and I thought about doing a full review, but I haven't much else to talk about in this video, so it'll give me a few minutes to just kind of talk about it. It was a 4-star review for Ange and a 3-star review for me, and I was just harsher in my agreement with her about the flaws. The biggest flaw for me, I will try not to use any spoilers, but the biggest flaw for me about this novel, published in 1939, was that she started out with a really quirky family. There was a major, his 2 adult daughters who had never moved out of their nursery in their vast estate, Sonby, the Priory. The new stepmother, who was very awkward but well-meaning. And the aunt, who was an eccentric painter of very dubious talent. And that was the household, and they were all so weird, and it was such an intriguing dynamic. And then there was the servants, and they were, some of them were interesting, and there was some sexual dalliances and whatnot. But as the story broadened and new characters came in and new romances, and one of the daughters, I think she was the oldest, Christine, and I don't know, am I spoiling anything by saying this? I don't think I'm spoiling very much to say that the oldest daughter, Christine, gets married early in the novel. That will be the last detail about the plot that I will say for those of you who care about spoilers from a novel published in 1939. The the daughter's characters didn't flow from that very isolated childhood they'd spent in this vast estate with with a distant father. Their mother had died years ago, and a weird aunt to raise them, and servants to raise them. And the daughters became other characters, completely divorced, I thought, from what they had been introduced as. And I felt that was the biggest flaw of the novel, was Dorothy Whipple would take the characters and she would twist them to fit the plot, which for large parts of the book was a very conventional and unbelievable romance plot. So I've already said that the daughter got married. Well, the engagement scene, for me personally, was puke-worthy, but it was the first conversation between the young man and the young woman, and by the end of that conversation in the woods, they were engaged to be married. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So Whipple would twist the plot, and sometimes in a way that would she'd make, okay, this flat character is now round for 50 pages, and then this round character is going to become flat and is now a villainess for the next 75 pages, but stay tuned, and then this character will disappear from the narrative for 150 pages or completely, and her use of point of view was really all over the map that way, and the characters just didn't cohere from beginning to end. All of that said, I couldn't put it down, and damn it all, I found the ending quite moving, despite how pat it was. So she did something right that I didn't ever consider bailing, and that, I got angry and had so many complaints, but by the end, I said, damn it all, what a bad book. It was kind of like that. So I will try another one of hers. This one was from fairly early in her writing career, so I don't think I'd try an earlier book because of the huge flaws here, but I might try a later one, but I wouldn't be in any great hurry. So my very ambivalent relationship with Persephone books continues apace. I am stoked to begin Victober tomorrow. I will start I forget what I said, 28-hour audiobook of Gaskell's Wives and Daughters. So that's an hour a day, so I got to keep on top of that. And I will start The Heir of Redcliffe by Charlotte M. Young, which is a buddy read with Ange. I hope it goes better. I enjoyed buddy reading this Whipple book with her, but I hope the book goes better for us. And I'm really curious to see what I'll think of that. And I will start the Welsh lesbian novel from the late 19th century, Jill by Amy Dilwyn, which is a buddy read with Charlotte of, can I remember her channel name? I've made absolutely no notes. Tired Mama Tries to Read. I will correct that if I've mangled it in any way. I think it's accurate, and we're going to do that over the month. I have other buddy reads that are of shorter books, and I'm going to ask those buddy readers to that I'm not ready to start in the first week. I just want to get these ones started, get feeling better, and see how it goes from there. But I'm stoked. This is just an addendum. As I was editing, I realized that I didn't mention the one really happy reading experience of the past week. Last weekend was a huge buddy read. I won't try to remember everybody's names, but it was half of BookTube, and it was of J.L. Carr's A Month in the Country. It was a reread for me. It was a 5-star read when I read it 2 years ago, and I vowed to myself that I would not read a whole bunch of fiction in order to reread this gem of a novel for the rest of my life. So this was my first reread. So I loved it even more. So I guess it's a 7-star read. It's a perfect novel. Kind of in the way that Stoner is, even though it's not the span of one character's life, but just the way that it seems to effortlessly and beautifully talk about every theme of the modern age and modern literature with such a light touch. It's a masterpiece. Not everyone agreed in the buddy read, but most of us did, and especially those of us for whom it was a reread. It was an absolute delight. So I'm going to reread it again in 2020 instead of watching the Tokyo Olympics. One more thing that I forgot to say is I'm really sorry I haven't been able to keep up with comments. I hope to start back with being my usual diligent self and responding to all comments with Victober, which also reminds me that I forgot to say I'm not going to be doing daily vlogs. I don't think I'm going to do vlogs for Victober. It's just too long. So I'm just going to fold it into my Friday reads and just get back into making other kinds of videos for BookTube, which I've been in such withdrawal that I haven't been producing content. So no vlogs this time. Okay? That's what I got to say. That's what I have for you today. I hope you have had a good reading weekend and that if you've been on any substances, you've been having a much better time of it than I have. Thanks for watching.